Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today we are back with a list of 10 movie recommendations, wild, over the top, sexy, spicy, seductive, and maybe a little bit sinister films that you need to see. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. All right, so it's February. It is the month of Valentine's Day. You're looking for something to add a little bit of spice, a little bit of flavor, a little bit of, adult fun to the proceedings here. It is a crazy month, a short month, so you got to pack a lot in. So it is a good month to find, something to heat up the nights a little bit, and that's what we have for you on this list today. These movies will definitely do that. If you haven't seen them, or even if you have and you need a refresher, a revisit, I think I have 10 movies that fit that bill. So let's jump right into the list, starting at number 10 with 1999's Cruel Intentions. Now, this is a movie that probably pops to a lot of people's minds, especially if you're around my age and you graduated, high school right before this movie came out, things like that. You were the prime age for this because it stars Sarah Michelle Gellar, who's very big at the time, Ryan Phillippe, Reese Witherspoon. You have Selma Blair in here. You have Joshua Jackson in here. So this movie is filled with kind of like those up and coming stars right there. And some of them were already big stars on like teen shows on this Warner Brothers or CW network back in the day. And this is actually a retelling of the movie Dangerous Liaisons, somewhat of a remake. And Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Phillippe are step siblings, and they are overprivileged, spoiled brats to the max. And they are bored, and they are basically looking for someone and something to play with for their own amusement while they get ready to attend this elite sort of Ivy League style prep school. And wow, does this take a turn into some inappropriateness in some ways, because the two of them make a bet that they can deflower the new headmaster's daughter before the term is over. So the wager on this bet is where it gets even more twisted, as these are step siblings. But the wager is if Ryan Phillippe's character wins, then he gets to sleep with Sarah Michelle Gellar's character. Whole other issue there, but we're going to leave that. So that just tells you where the stakes are in this movie as far as seductive and spicy and a little bit sinister, because that is a little bit twisted, the whole plan, everything they do. And it intensifies as it goes. They pull other people into this web. There is a very, very famous hot kissing scene in this movie between Sarah Michelle Gellar and Selma Blair. It even won like Best Kiss back in the day on MTV. It's been parodied a million times, but it is that iconic. This movie is all about heat and all about trying to be as seductive as possible. So it 100% fits the bill on this list, and it is definitely a little sinister, a little twisted, you might say, but it is good fun. So check out Cruel Intentions. It comes in on our list here at number 10.
This time, I'm going to stick my tongue in your mouth.
Now at number 9 on our list is a Sharon Stone film, and it's not the one you're thinking. This is Sliver. Now, Sliver is from 1993, and this actually just got a recent release and restoration by Vinegar Syndrome. So great looking, best it's ever going to look. And this movie stars Sharon Stone. It stars William Baldwin, Tom Berenger. You're going to see a lot of other people that you recognize in here. Even Martin Landau makes an appearance in this film. And this film deals with, well, let's just say it puts voyeurism up on a whole other level. Stone plays Carly Norris, and she's like a very successful copywriter, editor, book editor, and she moves into this coveted Manhattan high-rise apartment building that everyone's trying to get into, and suddenly she just gets into it like that. I mean, it's so easy. She gets into it. She's almost blindsided. She moves into the building and she kind of discovers everything is not what it seems here. And this is where the movie kind of takes a turn. As I've rewatched this, if you're familiar with Brian De Palma's work, I definitely, the more I watch it, I get Brian De Palma vibes a little bit, or like, whereas Brian De Palma kind of did homages to Hitchcock in his films, I feel like someone's doing an homage to Brian De Palma, doing homage to Hitchcock in this, because you get those voyeuristic body double rear window vibes as Sharon Stone begins an affair with William Baldwin, who turns out is hiding some very big secrets. And among those secrets is that he has the whole building wired with cameras. In a secret room, he sits and watches countless TV screens of what's happening in everyone's apartment. So the movie is definitely filled with TNA, some hot, steamy love scenes in this. I don't know if you'd call them love scenes. They're more just like sex scenes. But that is what it's very De Palma, has a Giallo type film. If you're familiar with Giallo films, it has a little bit of that edge to it. It's very much an erotic thriller, very 90s, lots of TNA, some very, very frank dialogue in this movie and very graphic dialogue in this movie. And at the same time, you are uncovering a murder mystery that you get wrapped up in. So got a lot of heat. Very sinister, deals with voyeurism, so you've got that whole thing going for it, and I think it's a bit underrated and one that's definitely worth a watch if you're looking for something in this category. Sliver comes in at number 9. Now, at number 8 on the list is a movie that a lot of people haven't even heard of, despite the massive cast. I'm talking about 2004's Closer. Wow, this movie listen, for a movie that doesn't have a lot of on-screen sex or nudity or anything like that, it might be one of the most graphic films on this list. And it all has to do with the situations and the dialogue. So you have Julia Roberts stars in this film, Natalie Portman stars in this film, Clive Owen, Jude Law. So you have this massive cast of A-listers in this film, and they make up two different couples. And the problem happens when the man from one couple, Jude Law, meets the woman from the other couple, Julia Roberts, who is a photographer, and they begin a cheating secret affair behind the other two's back. And to complicate these things further, Natalie Portman plays a stripper in this movie, which she gets up to some dancing in this. She doesn't she keeps her clothes on, or at least some clothes on, but it's very much a departure from anything you've seen Natalie Portman in. It's like, whoa, take a step back. But is the dialogue here? There is a scene in this movie, and I'm not even sure I can play it on here. There is a scene in this movie where Julia Roberts is confessing her affair to Clive Owen, and he's asking for details of what they were doing because he wants to be able to hate her and move on with his life. And I'm just going to tell you, it can make you blush. If you're not ready for this and you're not ready to hear Julia Roberts say some of the most graphic, frank, just straightforward things that you have ever heard, you can't imagine these things coming out of her mouth, let alone in a movie for everyone to see. But it's very real. It's very hard hitting in that way, so it fits in the moment, but it is extremely like a step back moment. And of course, you have Natalie Portman playing a exotic dancer in this movie, so you have some big stars in roles you don't normally see, and it is a relationship kind of spicy heat, kind of drama. It's not an erotic thriller. It doesn't go into that. It's very much a drama. But it is extremely graphic for something that shows little to nothing by way of skin on screen. So Closer comes in on our list at number 8. Closer. All right, number 7 on the list is another one that a lot of people don't hear of. It has another one of America's sweethearts in this movie, and I'm talking about 2003's In the Cut. Now, this stars Meg Ryan and Mark Ruffalo. They are the two key figures in this movie, and Meg Ryan plays Franny, who is a writing professor, and she kind of begins an affair with a sort of hard-boiled noir-style detective played by Mark Ruffalo when he begins to start investigating a murder and potential serial killer that is active in her neighborhood. Now, as they go along in this movie and they begin an affair and it intensifies, she starts to wonder if maybe, just maybe, the detective who is supposed to be hunting this serial killer might be the serial killer himself. But it does not stop her from a very torrid, very explicit, very hot and graphic love affair filled with sex scenes and nudity that, like, if you didn't know this was Meg Ryan, you would be shocked that she did this, because she bears all and they just go for it with some very intense, albeit very realistic in a lot of ways, love scenes that they do together, her and Mark Ruffalo. But it is just one of those things because, much like Julia Roberts in Closer, Meg Ryan is one of America's sweethearts. So just to see her do a movie like this, somehow you're not mentally prepared for it. So it kind of even if it's not as graphic as it seems, maybe it seems more graphic and more explicit because of who is doing it. But the movie's very hot. It was done by a female director, and she just went for this thing and pushed Meg Ryan to her limit. And you're going to, trust me, see Meg Ryan in a way you've never seen her before. So In the Cut comes in at number 7 on this list. Now, at number 6 on our list is an Oliver Stone film that kind of gets lost in his filmography. It's from 2012. It's a movie called Savages. Now, this stars an actor that I really love from Friday Night Lights, the TV show, and I actually love him best. It doesn't matter that recently Channing Tatum got to play Remy LeBeau's Gambit. I really like Taylor Kitsch as Gambit in Wolverine, a movie that kind of got panned. But I'm a big fan of Taylor Kitsch as an actor. And this also stars Aaron Taylor Johnson and Blake Lively. You also have Benicio del Toro in here. John Travolta is in here. Selma Hayek is in this movie. So it's very Oliver Stone in that you have a hell of a cast. But Taylor Kitsch plays best friends, almost brothers, with Aaron Taylor Johnson. Taylor Kitsch is a former Navy SEAL. Aaron Taylor Johnson is a botanist, and Taylor Kitsch brings back marijuana seeds from Afghanistan, and they have this legal marijuana business in California that is very successful. They're becoming very wealthy. And there's like part of you like, okay, what's it doing on this list? Well, they happen to share a girlfriend. That's right. They share a girlfriend. And this actually kind of inspired me on on one of my movies. But they share a girlfriend played by Blake Lively. The two guys are very different. So like she goes to one for like sensitivity, I guess you would say, and the other one for aggression. Let's keep it like that. So it's a very hot and sort of twisted three-way dance that we got going on here. And all is well and good. They're living it up. They are expanding their bank accounts and their life and all of that until the Mexican cartel gets involved and they want to force them into business together. They're trying to stay like on the up and up with like a distillery or whatever. And now they got to deal with the Mexican cartel. You got Benicio in here playing a bad guy. They kidnap Blake Lively, and it kind of pushes these guys to fight back, maybe work with the DEA, the FBI, or, Kitsch is a Navy SEAL, go in here. You kind of have Oliver Stone going a little more style over substance in this, but he definitely went for the spiciness. He definitely went for the heat. He went for the sexy guns, violent sex. You've got two guys sharing one girl. it's all there. It's all there with a lot of action done with Oliver Stone's flavor. If you haven't seen it, kind of check it out. It's not the greatest movie, but it checks all these boxes, and it is a crazy ride. So Savages from 2012, Oliver Stone coming in at number 6 on this list. And that kind of brings me, I told you that that movie kind of inspired me a little bit when I was doing one of my own films. And I kind of honorable mention the film that inspired, and because it totally fits on this list. It is called Buried Cane. Now, it never got a domestic physical media release, so this is the Japanese physical media release. And I make a lot of horror movies. This is the only drama that I've done. And when you talk about steamy, this is steamy Southern Gothic.
Just go to her. She's already got you. You could have had either one of them. You could have had any guy you wanted, but you had to have them both.
This movie has 2 brothers that are in love with the same girl, Georgia, who they grew up with. Georgia's aunt, who raises her, actually runs a brothel out of the bottom of her home cooking bar and grill. And this is a very sordid, small town that they live in where everybody knows everybody's business, but they work real hard to keep secrets. Everybody's hiding secrets that get exposed in painful ways. They are intertwined. And this movie is extremely steamy because it deals with love triangles, quadrangles, all kinds of stuff like that. And it is all here. It takes a look at the southern kind of, like I said, Southern Gothic type small town. Very, very hot. You can find this movie right now on Tubi as well, I believe, and Freevee, maybe a couple of others. Buried Cane is one that you got to kind of experience. It's a Southern, sexy, steamy tale told by a Southerner and with some beautiful people and some great acting, and I think you'll like it. It definitely fits on this list, and Buried Cane, an honorable mention.
Hey, Faye?
Huh?
Don't forget to bring my boy.
All right, back to the list with number 5, and this is one that is some ways a little lighter, but in some ways kind of heavy. I don't hear people talk about this movie a lot. I actually really enjoy Love and Other Drugs. This is from 2010, stars Anne Hathaway. You got Jake Gyllenhaal in here. Oliver Platt's in this movie. Vince Vaughn makes a little appearance in this movie. You have Catherine Winnick from Vikings, who she is gorgeous. She is in this movie. Josh Gad, the voice of Olaf, is in this movie, amongst other things. So this is set in the 90s, and Jake Gyllenhaal is a pharmaceutical salesman. He's like an up-and-coming pharmaceutical salesman. So he goes in and he's meeting all these doctors and nurses and all these kind of things and other salesmen and saleswomen. He's really good at what he does. He's making a lot of money, and he's getting laid a lot. That's just what it is. And he's having a grand old time doing this, carefree with his life as a single guy and beautiful women and money rolling in, until he meets Anne Hathaway. And Anne Hathaway is maybe in some ways an even more free spirit than he is, who pushes him to kind of just experience and live and enjoy one day at a time. But their one day at a time ends up being a lot of days together. And they form this relationship that she is kind of trying to stay away from, because she has been diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's disease, and she doesn't want to burden him or anyone else with that. But at this point, he's a smitten kitten. It's too far gone. And on this adventure, I'm going to tell you, this might sound like a light rom-com dramedy. It is extremely graphic on screen. From a sex and nudity standpoint, I was blown away. There was rumors of things really happening between the two co-stars during the filming. Cameramen had to move around to different directions because they said things were happening. I don't know about all that for sure. I wasn't there. All I can say is they make me believe it and they sell it. It is got plenty of TNA but it's earned. It makes sense because they're trying to live it up like each day is their last day on Earth. It also leads to some very funny moments in here. I'm not going to spoil them all, but like, when you try to surprise someone without clothes, you better make sure no one else is in the room unless you're really not shy. There's a lot of things that are fun, but it does have a lot of heart to the movie too. I highly recommend this one. I really, really like this movie. So Love and Other Drugs from 2010 comes in at number 5 on this list. Now, at number 4 on this list it might be the oldest movie on this list, and I just saw it for the first time a few weeks ago when I was doing research for this list. I do research for the list, and I rewatch movies, and I buy movies and all this stuff. That I'm not going to recommend you guys stuff that I haven't watched or just read a blurb about. So this movie is interesting because I don't normally go in for subtitles, but I had to give it a try. And I am talking about 1989's Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down. This has an NC-17 rating, and it earns it. In a lot of ways, it earns it. And it had to be cut because it had an X rating initially back in 1989. It stars Antonio Banderas, and he plays a guy who just got released from a mental asylum facility. And he has devised a plan. He is well now. He's okay. He knows what he wants to do with his life. And that involves going and kidnapping an adult film star who he once had a one-night stand with and holding her captive until she falls in love with him and agrees to marry him. Yes, you heard all that right. And somehow this crazy premise. Now, I watched this. The Criterion Collection has this movie. You can also find it maybe on Tubi. I know you can find it on HBO Max, but because they have a whole Criterion section. And so I found it. I decided to check it out. It is subtitled, which is not my favorite. But Antonio Banderas, I loved him in this role. And it's a very nutty premise. And there is definitely some steam. There is some very gratuitous, like, particularly one sex scene in this movie. It goes for it. She plays an adult film star. You've got this whole situation. But over time, he discovers she's troubled. He has troubles, and maybe it's not about finding the perfect person, but finding the perfect person for you. Maybe your problems and your likes and dislikes, everything, maybe it just meshes with the right person. And maybe it takes tying their ass down in one place to figure that out. And that's kind of what it goes here. And this movie, I love the fact that it ends up, it's a comedy. It's light overall. So I love that it doesn't get too twisted. It's very enjoyable. And Antonio Banderas, I think, turns in a really good, underrated performance that, frankly, I had never really heard about that much until I stumbled across this movie. And I enjoyed it, so I want to recommend it to you. It totally fits on this list. And you have to see how this thing all ends up. Does tying you up to tie you down work? Or is that just in the movies? But it comes in at number 4 on our list. Now at number 3 on our list, visually is probably the most graphic. Definitely probably has some of the most graphic moments in this movie. And I'm talking about 2001's The Center of the World. Ooh, boy. Okay, so if you're looking for great cinematography, this movie is not it. By nature of how this movie is, it wouldn't make sense to have like all the greatest cinematography and stuff in the world. You get more of a claustrophobic, gritty feeling of realism from this movie. And it stars Molly Parker, Peter Sarsgaard, Balthazar Getty is in this movie. You're also going to get Carla Gugino, who I love. She is in this movie. You actually get a little appearance from Mr. Miyagi himself, Pat Morita, in this movie. And What this is about a successful computer programmer, like back around the .com thing, bubble expanding and bursting. And he is disillusioned, though he's starting to be very successful. He's looking for a connection. He meets this stripper, exotic dancer in a diner, and he offers her $10,000 for like 3 days with him. Her offer to him is that she will take it, but that will involve only foreplay, light touching, and no going all the way. Let's say it like that. No going all the way. So this is going to launch into a few days of what could be, seen as paying for frustration at that point. But he's hoping to build a connection. He's hoping to feel something. And in this time, he's hoping that maybe she will too. And maybe there is a mutual thing that starts to happen over time as the sexual situations between the two intensify and they go and they do other fun things and kind of build this relationship. But we also see other people connected to them that they know outside of this, including like another dancer type person. We're just going to say it like that. And this is where one of the most graphic scenes. I'm just going to say this scene involves someone enjoying themselves, and I'm just going to leave it right there. Just be prepared to know that there is very explicit moments in this movie, and that's going to be one of them. So if that's not your bag, if that makes you a little squeamish, stay away from it. But under these conditions, it is so well acted, because I'm going to tell you that kind of stuff and the stuff that they're portraying, like Molly Parker portraying this dancer over these few days, having to do these things and stuff. It's not easy. And sometimes when you're going for a grittier feel where it's minimal crew and they're filming and all that kind of stuff, and it doesn't feel as much like a movie, it starts to feel more real to the actors, that can make it actually more difficult to do. I think the actors in this do a great job. It is definitely hot. Definitely got a little sad note to it in there that maybe changes over time. And definitely a little shady. I wouldn't say sinister, but shady with the way this whole deal goes down and the plan and how these two meet. But definitely check it out. Just remember there are some pretty explicit moments in the movie. So The Center of the World, it's unrated for a reason. It had never got past the censor at all. But from 2001, comes in at number 3. Just remember I said that. All right, at number 2 on the list, this one had to be here. When you think sinister, sexy, steamy, hot, TNA, erotic thrillers, all that kind of stuff, there is an icon to that genre. There's a few. There's a Mount Rushmore. But one of them is definitely Basic Instinct. This is a good movie. I'm a huge Paul Verhoeven fan. Verhoeven was the director on this film. I love Paul Verhoeven. I love his satirical. I love his over-the-top, punch you in the face kind of style. This movie is famous, iconic, and definitely infamous. I have this cool box set release from Studio Canal in the UK, and absolutely love it. So it's from 1992, stars Michael Douglas, Sharon Stone. You got Jean Triplehorn in here, who I think gets overlooked in this, does a very, very good job. She's very underrated in this movie. So Michael Douglas plays a somewhat brutal, somewhat over-the-top police detective in this. He's kind of violent in and of himself. He kind of has his own issues. And he is investigating the brutal murder that might just involve a manipulative, beautiful novelist who is very seductive, played by Sharon Stone. And wow, there's moments in this movie that are iconic to film, and this launches that moment right there where she is in the police station, and she's in the interrogation room, and she is wearing a tight white dress, and she's sitting there across from all these men, and they're hotboxing her with all these questions and all this kind of stuff. And she just simply uncrosses her legs, spreads them, and crosses them over again. She's not wearing anything underneath. It is a very, like, iconic moment in film. It's been made fun of. It's been kind of redone. All these things so many times. But at that moment in time, it was like, whoa, that is crazy, because you had Sharon Stone, you had this big budget movie doing this. And this is another one that you could be forgiven for thinking that Brian De Palma had a hand in. There's a little bit of his style. Now, Verhoeven, it's a Verhoeven film. But definitely I get Dressed to Kill vibes. If you've ever seen that by Brian De Palma, there's a little bit of that in here. So they kind of go hand in hand. I love that kind of thing. It's definitely an erotic thriller. It has all the steam, the sexiness, the TNA, anything you're looking for to fit on this list. And it is definitely sinister. Definitely sinister. Even by the end, you may not be sure who the murderer is, what has happened, but you know that you have been on a ride and you almost need a shower and to go outside and get some fresh air, because you've just been through it. And Basic Instinct grabs a hold. It doesn't let go. It has kind of stood the test of time. It's still iconic for that scene and many more. I think it's a great Verhoeven film. Had to be on a list like this. It comes in at number 2. Now at number 1 might be the one that everybody is waiting on for this list. And it's from 1999, Stanley Kubrick's last film, Eyes Wide Shut. This stars Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, and this movie is infamous, right? Infamous for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of conspiracy theories around this movie, all kinds of stuff, but it is definitely sinister, definitely seductive, definitely sexy, plenty of sex, nudity, all this kind of stuff. There's even an unrated version of this movie that apparently we will never get. That's extended, that has even more than what you see in the movie. And in this movie, Tom Cruise plays a doctor who his wife tells him of her sexual fantasies, what she wishes she could do, her fantasies. And that kind of launches him into a little bit of an exploration himself. And this leads the two of them together to kind of get pulled into this elite underground. I want to say, like, of the wealthy power elites that host these ritualistic type sex parties and balls where they're like, masquerade balls and stuff like that, where you have not only the rituals going on, but you have swinging going on, you have voyeurism going on, you have all kinds of sex games going on. And it's weird to call it an underground, because it's more like a secret society of the wealthy, powerful elite that are doing this. And it gets very sinister in some ways, and it takes a darker turn when Tom Cruise's character is recognized. You see, you got to keep your mask on so that you're not recognized. When he's recognized outside of that, it gets pretty twisted. The movie itself can be kind of twisted. Some people can be very confused watching the movie. I think some of that comes because there's a very longer extended cut out there that we may never see. There's an unrated cut. There's an extended unrated cut that exists out there somewhere. But this is definitely going to fill your cup of TNA, sexy, seductive vibes, and sinister and twisted vibes 100% in this. All done with a lot of Kubrick flair. And Stanley Kubrick, is an absolute master filmmaker. And this movie is there. It's everything that you want from a list like this, from a movie that's on a list like this. And then you get a filmmaker like Kubrick behind it. It has to come in at number 1. And that's what I've got for you. Wild and crazy. You guys, if you like these lists, I've got all kinds of lists like this, all kinds of different categories. You guys let me know in the comments. I will do them. If you guys like them, they seem to be doing well. I continue to do more. But we do all kinds of things here. Recommendation lists, rankings lists, 4K release movie reviews, all from a fan and filmmaker's perspective. If it's your first time here, I'm a working filmmaker. I've been doing that for over 20 years. So I love movies. I write movies. I make movies. And we do all that stuff here. We do physical media news. I am all into collecting. Love movies. Love having them in your hand in the best quality possible with the best experience possible. All of it is part of it, and recommending movies to you is a big part of it, and I really do enjoy doing it. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, helps me get found out there by more people who maybe will like some of these lists. And if you want to help support what I do here, you can join below at my Patreon link or right here on YouTube. Couple dollars a month, depending on your tier. You're going to get your name and lights on every single video here. Behind the scenes looks at my filmmaking, special members only videos, access to stuff earlier, merch when it comes out, all kinds of stuff. And it all helps support the channel, just like using the Amazon links below to these movies or my Amazon store. Anytime you use one of those links, it helps out the channel. And I really, really do appreciate it. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.